Barb, can you speak a little bit to the dilemma of writing storyboards on behalf not just of families to help paint a picture for them or students to help clarify for them, but you're also doing this across a range of teachers?
I think the other piece about storyboards that has been really helpful is the idea of being able to really think about prioritizing. How do we prioritize? What are the bigger skills? What are our essential questions? What are the bigger ideas that we are thinking about within each of our units, right? And what specifically are we trying to target for students in those particular units? And I think that is really helpful because we have, teachers who are first year teachers and coming in, and they have a lot of information, not only content wise to learn, but also they're still trying to grasp and figure out, classroom management and other pieces of, school community and culture, figuring out the culture and community of the students in which they're serving, right? So there's a lot of information that they're learning. And then we also have teachers who have been here with us. So we have teachers on all different paths who have been with us for a long time, and teachers who are, in their first year, second year, etc. And so I think that, the storyboard really helps us to be able to prioritize. It grounds us in common language. It helps us to think about, really that bigger piece, the essential questions, like what are the big questions we're trying to answer from that UBD perspective, right? That universal by design perspective of working backwards. Like if we're trying to answer these questions, okay, what's the story behind these questions? And then what are the targets or their objective? What should students be able to do at the end of these particular units? The other thing that's important to just looking at ours specifically, they're designed by trimesters, which also gives us sort of a time frame in which we should be able to accomplish these particular units. That's also very important in terms of, the accountability piece to one another as colleagues, like staying on par with our curriculum and making sure that we have common assessments and we have other things in place, so that teachers are making sure that they are reaching all of the goals within a curriculum, right? So that we don't stay in unit one for the entire half of the year because that's a unit we really prefer. And we never reach the matter unit because that's a really difficult unit. And, we don't meet those goals. So it also helps with that piece, with the timing and helping teachers to stay grounded in that piece with the timing as well.
Let me, if I might, ask you to respond to this. I'm listening carefully to what you say, and one of the reasons we were so looking forward to this session is because you're a place doing this systemically. But what you've talked about is very much what we touched on in that first article, but we really developed in our book, which is streamlining. Because if you don't streamline, you can have an overpacked, jam-packed storyboard. Storyboard's going to be hard to do. What I heard you saying is you systemically, if I'm correct, we're deciding what matters most for a very complex and diverse student population.
Yes.
Things like UDL are very much about inclusivity, but you can't keep adding. You are making choices, what's in the foreground, what's in the background, but you did it in concert. And putting it into the story almost makes it simpler because you're going, if it isn't part of the story, we probably shouldn't be emphasizing it.
Yes.
But I heard it through that lens. Is that fairly accurate?
Yes, and I think that's exactly right. I think it gives people the permission also to go back and say, okay, if it's not prioritized as one of our essential goals, then we shouldn't be spending 5 weeks on it, right?
That's right.
We need to go back to, these were the things that we agreed to as teachers and educators that were priorities. They're grounded in our standards. It's grounded in the essential questions that we're exploring, right? And it's grounded in the learning targets, and it all goes back to that. And so, it paints a picture of what's prioritized and important for the year. And it's based on decisions that teachers made together as a team. And then there's an accountability to one another as well, and what's best for our students. So yes, we've made decisions about what is important for our learners.